الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So today inshallah ta'ala we'll continue discussing the book Al-Arba'in An-Nawawiyya by Al-Hafiz An-Nawawi rahimahullah, and we'll be discussing Hadith which is As-Sadis wal-Ishrun, the 26th Hadith in this series. So inshallah ta'ala, as the system that we follow, that the Hadith will be read and then we have a discussion regarding the Hadith. Aywa.
Bismillahi wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi. The virtues of mending ties, justice and assistance amongst one another. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم كل سلامة من الناس عليه صدقة كل يوم تطلع فيه الشمس تعدل بين اثنين صدقة وتعين الرجل في دبته فتحمله عليها أو ترفع له عليها متاعه صدقة وكلمة الطيبة صدقة وبكل خطوة تمشيها إلى الصلاة صدقة وتميت الأذى عن الطريق الصدقة رواه بخاري ومسلم. On the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, every joint of a person must do a charity every day that the sun rises. Acting justly between two people is a charity. Assisting a man onto his mount or hoisting his belongings onto it is a charity. A good word is a charity. Every step you take to perform the prayer is a charity. And removing harmful objects from the roadway is a charity. Related by Bukhari and Muslim.
Now, since the hadith has been read, this, as we mentioned, this is the 26th in this series of Nawawi rahimahullah, that they mentioned the hadith, which this hadith that it discussed concerning continuation regarding what we had discussed last, which is concerning ways of doing a sadaqah. So also ways in which one can carry out different acts of sadaqah, and it lists a few things that one can do. So as for first of this hadith, it discussed concerning the hadith regarding the Rawi, and this hadith as mentioned, and Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, and as we mentioned that we have discussed and mentioned things regarding this particular Sahabi who is Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. If at some point, if someone can gather that have a list of all the Sahaba in this series of these series, to say each Sahabi how much hadith they have narrated in this series. Now, so Abu Hurairah, how many hadith? So go through every hadith and see which Sahaba and kind of somewhat list. So something interesting. So if someone can do that, okay, now I'll work on that. It's to see concerning each Sahabi in this series, how many Sahaba have narrated these hadith, and which one, any of them who have narrated more than one hadith. So something we'll work on inshallah. So say put a book of Musnad, so the book of Masanid, which books of Masanid, where the hadith will be mentioned based upon each Sahabi. So for example, Sahabi Abu Bakr mentioned all his hadith, then after you go to the next Sahabi, for example Omar ibn Khattab mentioned all his hadith. So can someone say each hadith based upon the hadith are mentioned based upon the Sahaba that are called concerning those books, are that style of writing or compiling of book is called Masanid, Musnad. So we do the same thing with this particular series. So at least we can say we did something regarding on our own. So we mentioned that as for the Sahabi that we have covered regarding this particular Sahabi from previous hadith that we have mentioned. So the next point on this will be matters regarding at-takhrij. So takhrij of the hadith, which is, as we mentioned before, sourcing where the hadith who have compiled this hadith. So what are the sources of this hadith? So I mentioned that so this hadith they mentioned, the author rahimahullah he mentioned Rawahu Bukhari wa Muslim. Rawahu, so the hadith is collected by both Bukhari and Muslim, and based upon the hadith is from the same Sahabi who's Abu Hurairah, then the hadith can also be referred to as muttafaqun alayh. So of the term they use, Rawahu Bukhari Muslim, indicating that hadith is collected by Imam Bukhari in his Sahih, and also Imam Muslim rahimahullah in his Sahih. But because this hadith is from the same companion in both books, Bukhari and Muslim, then another way that it can be referred to as hadith muttafaqun alayh. Naam. So I said muttafaqun alayh is those hadith where I find that the hadith is collected by Bukhari and Muslim from the same companion. So if this hadith, as we discussed, if the hadith is mentioned in Bukhari and Muslim from, for example, Ibn Abbas. So in Bukhari, the hadith is from Abu Hurairah. In Sahih Muslim, the hadith is from Ibn Abbas. Or the same hadith, then we wouldn't say muttafaqun alayh, because it's two different companions. But if from the same companion, from the same book, from both those two books, is referred to as muttafaqun alayh. So said also muttafaqun alayh is concerned, the ulama mentions the highest, one of the highest level, highest degree of authenticity. So of the highest degree of authenticity amongst ulama of hadith is hadith that is said to be muttafaqun alayh. So they kind of somewhat put hadith regarding their level of authenticity into 7 maratib, 7 degrees. So this would be the highest degree, muttafaqun alayh. Would be the highest degree of authenticity. So that so Bukhari and Muslim, a point that we can somewhat before we go to the hadith, that with hadith being said, that hadith is collected by both Bukhari and Muslim, as we said that this hadith is of the highest degree. So you find that many of the ulama, and throughout the centuries, and up until still continue up until today, and may still continue, that of the thing that ulama have done, that they have gone to Bukhari and Muslim, and did work around those two particular books by way of either try to combine between both type. So of the ulama who have gone to Bukhari and Muslim, and they have tried in various ways, not that they have in various ways combined between the hadith that are found in Bukhari and Muslim. One, because those hadith were said of the highest degree, and also we said that of the ulama try to compare that they have different ways to see which hadith that they agree upon, that is the same in Bukhari and Muslim, and which hadith that they may differ on. So maybe found in Bukhari but not found in Muslim, and found in Muslim not found in Bukhari. But then you find some hadith that they both agree upon. So you find different works and effort regarding kind of somewhat combining those two books, especially we said those hadith of the highest level of authenticity. And said because of the criteria set by both. So let's say that these two books, Bukhari and Muslim, are said to be the two most authentic collections of hadith. So two authentic collection of hadith is found in Bukhari and Muslim. So I said over the centuries, the ulama kind of somewhat put some effort in this. So I said that no, some of that effort, we kind of somewhat show some of that effort. This is just some of it. There's others book that because the idea just come just now, that of the early works. You have a book that says it, a jam, which is said combining between what? Bukhari and Muslim. So they get the hadith, so both books are put together, and then try to do the calculation or work out those hadith that are agreed upon by both, put them in one category, and then those ones that are mentioned by Bukhari, put them in separate, and the ones mentioned by Muslim separate, put them separate. So you have those type of effort. So you have various efforts that are there. So of those efforts, now regarding Bukhari and Muslim, so you have many works that have been done. But those books are like a jam combining between Bukhari and Muslim. So of those efforts, this book is called Al-Jam Baina Sahihain. Al-Jam Baina Sahihain. So the author here is concerned, it said Ishbili. So you have gone to Bukhari and Muslim and combined between both. Nam, his style is way of his style is that he goes according to the system of Bukhari. He follow the system out the topic headings. He follow that of Imam Bukhari. Nam, because Imam Muslim in his original book, his topic he only have kitab, but he doesn't have subtopics. So Imam Muslim rahimahullah in his original book, he only have what? So you have kitab, meaning the book, the chapter or the book of salah. And I mentioned all the hadith in salat in one go, one after the other, without subtitles or subheadings. Bukhari much different. He has main chapter, kitab, then he has a lot of subheadings in between. Imam Bukhari have many subheadings in between. So he kind of somewhat in this one, he kind of somewhat adopt more the system of Imam Bukhari, somewhat. So that's what said of those works. If you want to find a book that combined between Bukhari and Muslim, then this is of it. This one in the way of Abwab al-Fiqhiyya, so in way of fiqh, so you can tahara, salat, in that type of system. So it's a good work, but this is one of them. The issue sometimes is that the wording, sometimes you may add a few wordings from other sources. But say that's one of those works. Another one is famous, so it's like 5th century. So Ishbili, Abdul Haq al-Ishbili, that 5th century, Abdul Haq al-Ishbili, Abdul Haq al-Ishbili, so that's 5th century. You have a next one by al-Humaydi. You have another famous one by al-Humaydi. So Humaydi, no, after, not that the teacher Bukhari is that these works came after. So that work, Humaydi, would be before. So Humaydi, another one that came after. So again, around that time, Humaydi, so is done by way of Masanid. So go to all the hadith, for example, of Omar inside Bukhari and Muslim, and put all those hadith on the one, on that particular companion, and he goes with that style. Omar, Abu Hurairah, Aisha, just as I mentioned, that's all the hadith that are found in Bukhari and Muslim. So first would be, for example, Abu Hurairah, all the hadith that is muttafaq, that is that are mentioned by both Bukhari and Muslim. Then he goes to those Bukhari, then Muslim. So you follow that style. But generally concerning that the hadith that they are gathered underneath each companion. That's also another important work on the early works on this field, right? These two of the early ones are of those that have worked on this. Then a famous one that is known, the Takrij. We'll come back to it. Okay, we'll come back to that. So another famous one, which is the same mindset, combining between Bukhari and Muslim, but also like this one is called Umdatul Ahkam. Umda al-Ahkam. So Umdatul Ahkam by al-Maqdisi, who's Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, is of the said 6th century, 7th century. So his style is that he went to Bukhari and Muslim. And he can someone he wanted is something which is mukhtasar, something which is abridged, a summary of both. So what he did though, his style, but what he did, his style was that he didn't want to capture everything in Bukhari and Muslim. He just want to capture some of the hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. So what he did, the hadith that they both agree upon that relates to ahkam of halal and haram, he put them in this book. So this is called Umdatul Ahkam, where the hadith that are in this book that is intention or is objective is to correct when mentioned min ma'alim al-halal wal-haram min khayr al-anam. So the thing is, a hadith that relates specifically, we said ahkam al-fiqhiyya, meaning halal and haram, tahara, salat, siyam, zakat, till the end of it, ahkam al-nikah, divorce, jihad. So you get all the hadith, but the ones that are agreed upon only by Bukhari and Muslim, and he puts it in this work. So it's a summary, but only those hadith that are agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim that relates to ahkam, halal and haram. So as for things of tafsir is not mentioned. Manaqib al-Sahaba wal-Anbiya not mentioned, because his main, we said his goal is only hadith that relates to halal and haram, what it says ahkam. So this book, it consists about just around 450 hadiths. So those hadith are the ones that said of these hadith will be considered those hadith said the mean of the highest level of authenticity in this book of Umdatul Ahkam. Even though the author at times may mention a hadith that is only in Bukhari or in Muslim. So sometimes he didn't, sometimes he may forfeit his general objective or goal due to a factor. But the general idea of the author is to mention only hadith agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. So if you say the hadith mentioned, any hadith is mentioned that in this book, there will be hadith that you mean that can be found in Bukhari and Muslim, except for the few exceptions. But they are found either in Bukhari or Muslim. Nam?
Is that book just laying out the hadith and it's not normal? Like you said, the other one put some of his own interpretation to it.
So that not interpreting, but sometimes I find a hadith in Bukhari, but you have other sources with the hadith that mention other sources with additional wordings. Now, so you will sometimes add those, but in this one you just stick, even though, so it's a bit different from this is main hadith of ahkam. Now it is the halal and haram to the point that he wants to discuss. Clear? That's a general idea to the next point, but that's the next more advanced, where even though, for example, the author of this book, Umdat al-Ahkam, it seems as if, because of the 6th century onwards, most of the ulama at that time, when they were using Bukhari and Muslim, they didn't actually have the text of Bukhari sometime in front of them and Muslim. They used other sources, like Humaydi and the one that we mentioned before. So other previous work that combined between Bukhari and Muslim, they were more relying on those texts than actual Bukhari and Muslim. Clear? So something I find a hadith that is mentioned sometime in these latter books, when you look to the wording in Bukhari and Muslim, is not the exact wording. It's more the wording of Humaydi, the other one that we mentioned, Humaydi, who combined between Bukhari and Muslim. So you find a Nawawi sometimes like in this book, that in this book something you find this. Another book, so say this one is a more famous book that is in print, that for as a beginner, they said beginner or use an early stage. We use the word early stage in studying of hadith, that they would they would prefer to use this book. So this book have many explanation. This book have many explanation. Easily top 30 explanation that is in print right now. Easily. So it showed a lot of emphasis on this book. Said because the book that is sometime of those books that will be mentioned as for a starting book, then this book will be mentioned also as a book after Arba'in. They will also advise the person, of those who advise the person memorizing Umdat al-Ahkam. So say those of there's the next one. So you have this idea, general concerning that a basic book that will contain only a hadith that are agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim that relates to ahkam. So it's the more famous book of this. But you have another one that around the same said Ibn Mulakin, who is Ibn Mulakin. So Ibn Mulakin rahimahullah, one of those ulama that have many books that he have written. Normally his books that himself, Ibn Mulakin, he explained Umdat al-Ahkam. Ibn Mulakin, he explained that book as he came after. So he has one of his explanation also, a detailed explanation of Umdat al-Ahkam. But also he did his own thing. So he kind of somewhat with the same concept of Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, with condensing or mentioning only those hadith that relates to halal and haram that are agreed upon between Bukhari and Muslim. So the same concept, idea, he kind of somewhat did his own collection, which is Ibn Mulakin, and he called that book Al-Bulgha fi Ahadith al-Ahkam mimma ittafaq alayhi shaykhan. So that book is in print, but not as, he said, it has more hadith than this one. So that book of Ibn Mulakin, Bulgha, it goes up to just over 500 hadith. Just over 508 in the print that it is, 508 hadith. So this one is said just 450. So it's an extra like 50 hadith or so in that collection. But this one is more famous and given more attention. The one by Ibn Mulakin, really explained. The only one of the Mashaykh I know that explained are really not given the same attention. They leave that, it's not given the same attention. If you ask anyone, is there any work similar to this? They will say, most of the Tulab will say no. Most will say no. The only one of this size, with this concept, they might only mention this one. But there's another. So the other one not as famous. Maybe among the people of Hadith, they may be known to them. But there's another one, and even that print is not that. It can be found online, but not as known. So it said the Al-Bulgha fi Ahadith al-Ahkam mimma ittafaq alayhi shaykhan. So the same idea by Ibn Mulakin rahimahullah that and he mentioned, but his style that he mentioned, ala tartib abwab al-manhaj. Who's manhaj? What's manhaj? Manhaj an-Nawawi. So now rahimahullah, he has a book called Manhaj, which is a book in fiqh. for the Shafi'iyah, and what a main book, a main source in Shafi fiqh. So it can somewhat, he mentioned, so is order of this book, that the order of the book, how it is organized, that is according to the structure of Minhaj. So it's on the Shafi approach regarding how they lay out their book. This one is Hanbali. So this one goes according to the Hanbali layout in how they their books. In fiqh. So each madhab have a certain way that how they lay out their works or their books in fiqh. Hanbali have a method, not said in one chapter, they put this one before that one, in that sense. You understand? In sense of how they, which chapters you have ibadat, mu'amalat, they may differ in mu'amalat. Some, for example, that jihad in some may come very early after ibadat. Some jihad may come later. Some nikah comes earlier in mu'amalat after. Some, those things come later. So, different in how they organize their book. So this one, according to the set, Umda, would be a Hanbali layout. With me? The one by Ibn Malakin would be a Shafi layout. But the concept is similar. The concept is similar.
Does that mean that they follow that manhaj?
And concerning fiqh, because all of them said instead, because a book in fiqh, because a fiqh book read about say fiqh al-hadith. So they kind of somewhat they still use the structure of the madhab that they align to or affiliate to. So that's the thing. So they are still kind of somewhat will organize their book in the way based upon the madhab that they affiliate to. And a lot of that is a common practice. That's a common practice. So I said that one is of those two of that type. Then of those ones that you have many. Then you have also this one. It is called Jama' as-Sahihain. Like so said in even though you have Bukhari and Muslim, but we said that these works are these works are there to serve Bukhari and Muslim, and there are many works. So of this, and something to make things easier, so this one Jama' as-Sahihain, which is combining between al-Jami' as-Sahihain that I mentioned, behaf al-Mu'tad wal-Turuf. Turuf that is to, or Turuk that to combine between both, but also to move away and not to include the isnad, the asanid of the books, and also the hadith that are repeated, not also to mention things that are repetition. Clear? So those hadith that are repeated in Bukhari and Muslim, they would not keep repeating them over and over. They mention them just once. And also the asanid, the isnad, or the chains that are repeated, the chains, they drop them to make it a little more easier. Or the repetition of the chain, they have the chain, but they repeat a chain over and over. So that's one effort. So entities that repeat itself in those books, but by way of isnad or hadith, they will not keep repeating them over and over. They mention them once and that's it. So I said this of next effort. I said there's many other works like this. So I said the one who will find it in their library will only be a person, in most likely will be only a person who's a person of hadith. Who will not sign these books, all these books, and there's a person like a professor and into works, but the one will gather all these books and say, like for us, repetition, isn't it? Isn't it? But for a person of hadith, that's not repetition. You understand? For the normal person who see if I have Bukhari Muslim, then khalas, why I need these works? That's as repetition. But for a person of hadith, he would not see this as repetition. You see each book having its own separate value, as if it's a separate book. So each book has its own separate value. And someone said somebody's worked on something. So so the person will gather these type of all these books will only in most likely be a person who's hadith, who have an inclination to ilm al-hadith, because all this relates to hadith within the science of hadith. So you have, for example, contemporaries of the more contemporary work that become of a famous one, which is translated in English, which is.
So what century was Jama' Sahihain?
5th century. He died 580, 517. The author mentioned Haddad. So he mentioned Haddad Asbahani. Then, so that there's others in between, but of the ones there we could pull out. So the other one that is more famous, of more contemporary times, of more recent time, is the one that is called Al-Lu'lu wal-Marjan. Fima ittafaq alayhi shaykhan. So that's the one that is more famous, Lu'lu wal-Marjan, that is been translated, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the one also that is also more famous. This is the one that is more famous. So his thing is also a concern to know that summarize Bukhari, but only those hadith that are agreed upon by both. So try to cover all the abwab, all the chapters, or all the books that Bukhari and Muslim have, but only mention the hadith that are agreed upon by both. So it's the same concept as this one, Umda, but this one more comprehensive. We're not just, this one restrict himself only to Ahadith al-Ahkam, halal and haram. This one, everything, capture everything. So you want to cover Bukhari and Muslim with all the chapters beyond halal and haram, tafsir, manaqib, ashratu sa, and akhlaq wal-adab. Then this one will give you that will give you a summary of Bukhari and Muslim, but only those hadith that are agreed upon by both. So you get a general overview of Bukhari and Muslim with all that it contains, but in a summarized way, more so the hadith that are agreed upon by both. Clear? So this one, but this one, some of the Mashaykh who have somewhat did some work on this one, they have cited that the original author was Muhammad Fawad Abdul Baqi, that he missed some of the hadith that was under his condition. So based upon the criteria that he have laid out, now he missed some hadith that fulfill the criteria that he had in place. So they came and kind of somewhat added those other ones that he missed but were in line with his criteria. So sometimes that's a benefit regarding concerning a book. You might go to the book, for example, said with Umtul Ahkam. Is there anything that he missed that may be according to his criteria? So a person might go through all that he mentioned and then in going back to the original book and see maybe he missed a few hadiths that was said, it seemed if he did, because Ibn Malak in a hadith exceed the amount that he mentioned. With me? So sometimes of ilm is to see, okay, that's not, is to build upon what others before may have missed. So I said that's of the work of Lu'lu wal-Marjan, of those of more contemporary, even Fawad Abdul Baqi, that have many works in hadith, even though he's not a muhaddith, but can somewhat did some work on the books of hadith. Then of contemporaries, we just mentioned this one as being the final. So you have many. You have one called Shami. One of the Shaykh is Shami. He's called Shami. I've got his full name. But he has many works on Bukhari and Muslim regarding combining between both. And you said he's contemporary, alive now. هو لكن عنده يعني فتنة الآن. So he, not him, but someone else. So this one is called Al-Jam Bayna Sahihain. Al-Jam Bayna Sahihain. So this one concerns the Bahithin. So this one in sense of one of the Mashaykh who they have a program regarding Hifz al-Mutun or Huffaz al-Hadith. So which is a program they started where you find that memorizing books of Hadith. So the program is established in Medina and also in Mecca and other places around the Mamlaka. Which is to memorize books of Hadith. So they have like particular locations, meaning masajid, that will have students and they will go and memorize the books of the Sunnah. So you find some people have memorized many books of it, but that's the program. So after the thing that they will memorize is Bukhari and Muslim. So they memorize Umda, Bulugh al-Maram, but also include, so you have like a package of different books that you can memorize. So you have all stages. So of those works will be the person who memorize Bukhari and Muslim. And of that also combining between both. Al-Jam Baina Sahihain. So this is the one that they'll use as a, so you have this one, so this one is for like more of a researcher. You have the one older for the Huffaz. So the books that they will print, they have their own like books that they will print. So you have like Umda, they have their own Umda that they will print for Huffaz. You have so that most of their books they print them like in two ways. One for people who are just to memorize. So the footnotes is not that much. And the other one for Bahithin, for people like more of a researcher, that will have more footnotes. Right? So this one is more. So this is the book that is meant to be memorized. So this is done. So this type of, this one is not specific. They have the memory one, would have less footnotes at the bottom here. Just the matin as they say. So they have different colors. So you have the chapter heading, then the hadith, then the chapter heading. So something you would have, they will miss out the repetitions also. They'll miss things that are repeated. Also with this one, that this was a memory. So the memory today, in most part, without isnad. Few people, not many, some, but not many, memorize books of hadith without isnad. But you do have those who still continue that tradition. So that's after works of contemporary. You have others that are, but to show concern that the point is the amount of effort that is placed regarding Bukhari and Muslim. I said, with all this, there's still continuous work. There's still continuous work. And understand that, for example, you have other works that are there of the past, but instead continuous where people are alive still doing that work of combining between Bukhari and Muslim. For example, Sheikh Abdul Rahman Abdul Muhsin Al-Qasim, the Imam, one of the Imam in Medina. So he has his Mutun al-Ilmiya and his books. So also he has a series regarding Jam Baina Sahihain. So he has his own combined between Bukhari and Muslim. So also the effort is still continuing. The effort is still there by some of the Mashaykh. But so the idea is that this book of Bukhari and Muslim, because of the importance that they have given that much concern to other books of Hadith, are not given that much attention. Of combining between any two books, that these two have been giving more attention compared to others. Now, I would mention that there are many other works relating to that particular topic. So, clear, Ikhwan? Aye. So I said that the one, because we have some inclination towards Hadith, that's why we can somewhat and one Mashaykh that is originally Afghani. Also, he did the checking of this one. So a program that sometimes they will go to different Mashaykh and they would like have a recording of their library and an interview with them. So the Shaykh is Afghani but also a Hadith here, specialized in Hadith. So in his, he have different, like mentioned before, he had different rooms. His library you have one room that is only dedicated to the books of Bukhari and Muslim. You only have one room. He says, because of Bukhari, the status of Bukhari and Muslim, one of his room of the books is dedicated to Bukhari and Muslim. Said that anything that relates to Bukhari and Muslim, he tries to get it and collect it. Whether it's concerning Bukhari and Muslim, different prints, even different languages. Even different languages. So anything for him that relates to Bukhari and Muslim that he can get his hand on, he's getting it. So show that type of effort. I said it's a full room. This is a room that the Bukhari Muslims that just the explanation alone, you understand, is a lot. But his aim is to gather as much thing as possible on Bukhari and Muslim. Inshallah, one day we'll try to do the same, inshallah. And his intention is any language. You understand? But that shows concerns that type of effort. You understand? That shows that type of effort that that he has given to Bukhari and Muslim based upon the status of these two works, of these two books. Nam, to show that other people all over the world have given attention to these works or to these books, but that mainly work will be in Arabic, but also whatever he can get his hand on in other languages. Because he's Afghani, he'll know Urdu, Pashtuan, you understand? He'll know many of those other languages. But even when he was showing, he could see that something that looked like in English is English, but the main thing that his intention is to gather whatever he can on Bukhari and Muslim. On Bukhari and Muslim. So this is that a noble that I would so inshallah ta'ala, it's to say as much that you can get, at least as much of those works that you can get around that book. So back to what we were discussing regarding concerning of Takhrij, that was said Bukhari and Muslim, the hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, and the effort regarding Bukhari and Muslim. That on the author rahimahullah, he mentioned regarding, so as for adding regarding Takhrij of the hadith, so of those things they mentioned that the sources of this hadith, so the sources we mentioned Bukhari and Muslim, as the author have mentioned. So and now rahimahullah, he tries to mention just some of the sources that are some of the sources. I didn't want to mention a lengthy those lengthy sources of those who have mentioned Ahadith, so he can somewhat restrict himself. So he mentioned Bukhari and Muslim, so the hadith in Bukhari or Muslim. Also the hadith is found in Musnad of Ahmed. So the hadith also is found in Musnad of Ahmed, as Busiri in his comments he mentioned. So Busiri have some work on Arba'in. So they mention this hadith, they mention Rawahu Ahmed ibn Hanbal fi Musnadi. So Busiri, he mentioned the hadith also is collected, this hadith is collected by Imam Ahmed in his Musnad. But also beyond, and so addition to Ahmed, so you have Bukhari, Muslim, Ahmed in his Musnad. Also this hadith can be found in Ibn Khuzaymah in his Sahih. So Ibn Khuzaymah, Al-Baghawi in his book Sharh al-Sunnah, Bayhaqi in his Sunnah, or Sunan al-Kabir, and his book also Shu'ab al-Iman by Bayhaqi. Also again, Bayhaqi have many books, Adab, that he have mentioned hadith in many of his books. Also and others that have mentioned this particular hadith. So this hadith is mentioned can be found in many sources, can be found in many books of hadith. Also they mention regarding this particular hadith that also this hadith as mentioned by Ibn Rajab and also others, that I mentioned this hadith also said you have what they call shawa'id. So other sahabi, other companions who have narrated this particular hadith with just said with this meaning. So you have the hadith that we have in front of us, the hadith of Abu Hurairah. But you find others called Sahaba who have narrated this hadith. So they mention others who have narrated this hadith, that they have mentioned Abi Dharr, so we have Abi Dharr, one, we have second, Ibn Abbas. So this hadith also have been narrated by Ibn Abbas. The isnad of Ibn Abbas, there's some kalam on that hadith, but also the hadith in the Abi Dharr have been narrated by Abi Dharr, which also the hadith can be found in other sources. Other Sahabi, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, also narrated the hadith. So third, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who have narrated this hadith. Others, fourth, al-Mu'mineen, Aisha, radhiyallahu anha. So Aisha also have narrated this hadith. That's the fourth. Fifth, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, also narrated this hadith. And some of his narration is found in Bukhari. So some of the narration, the wording of this, so some of the narration of this hadith is found in Bukhari, but narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. And the sixth is also this hadith, Burayda ibn Husayb al-Aslami. So Burayda ibn Husayb al-Aslami. So these are the different companions who have narrated this particular hadith. So several, over 6 other companions have narrated this hadith that is mentioned here, the hadith of Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. So again, we mentioned we said Ibn Abbas,
Abi Dhar,
Abi Dhar, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, Aisha, Abu Musa al-Ashari, and Abu Buraidah. So that's show concern that's concerning that particular hadith of the different sources. This is after the hadith that what have been mentioned regarding the virtue of this hadith. As mentioned, the Sunnah mentioned, هذا حديث عظيم. That this hadith is something which is of great importance. والقاعدة من قواعد الدين, and also is said to be one of the principles of the deen. So this hadith is considered to be of those hadith that is said to be of the principles of this deen. So I said, An-Nawawi rahimahullah, when he mentioned these ahadith, that these hadith are said to be hadith al-kulliyah. So the hadith are very vast meaning and said to be of the principles of the deen. So all these hadith will fall within that type of hadith. So that inshallah ta'ala will end for today and continue next week we'll be off. So we'll continue the hadith inshallah ta'ala the next session. So next time we will continue the hadith. So inshallah ta'ala will end here. So the next matter will be discussing the hadith. So in the next matter will be discussing the hadith by way of the meaning of hadith, and also with that is the fawaid, the benefit that can be taken from the hadith, or the benefits that can be taken from hadith. That will be the next discussion. So we'll leave that. So we'll discuss that inshallah ta'ala when we meet next bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.